Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemens, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We are live right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas. We're on the radio at 98.7 Walk by Faith, 1420 AM, and streaming on 987radio.com. And we are with you on all of our social media pages tonight at Health from the Rock on YouTube, Jason Clemens, DC on X, and the Rock Health and Wellness Centers on Facebook. It's Monday night, April 28th. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope you got some rest. I hope you got to spend some time with some loved ones. I hope you got to do some inspiring things this weekend, and I hope you had a fantastic Monday. Just a reminder, it's not just another Monday. Heard that one today. Oh, it's just another Monday. No, sir, it's not just another Monday. It's another opportunity to shine your light bright into the world. So anytime someone says that, you can't let them off the hook on that one. You gotta say, hey man, come on, it's Monday, let's go. Let's get out there and get some things done and change the world and make the world a better place and shine our light bright and make healthy choices and move our feet and work our brain and do all that good stuff. It's Monday. It's like, that's what we've been looking forward to all weekend long is Monday, right? It's like that. That's, what am I supposed to do with all that empty space? I somehow figured out what to do with it. But hey, tonight is Taking Health to Church night. But before we get into that, I'm going to break down posture because I think I had a light bulb moment today in talking about posture. And I have had a few conversations over the weekend about how we do this show and who you're talking to when you're doing this show. And it's really it is a challenging situation to talk to such a wide array of people. I was visiting with my mom about it. Actually visited with my uncle about it just a little bit this weekend, and I said a few things to a few patients. Just it's the very sophisticated people that study health and wellness. They get turned off really quickly if you don't keep them keep their brains activated with the details of things, right? Then at the same time, I know a lot of you, when I start to talk about some of this stuff, I talk too fast and I talk in the language that I use every single day, so it's very familiar to me. But the language that you hear, it's not necessarily as familiar to you. And you guys are brilliant in other areas, and you might not be as common in the language that I have when we're talking about just the body and the health and all that sort of thing. So I can see where it would get very difficult to follow sometimes. And I know an hour is a long time, but the reason I set the format up this way on this hour is because the real videos that have changed my life lately over the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years, they're videos that I get and I watch on YouTube when I go to YouTube, and the people that I follow on YouTube, and it's like Jordan Peterson and Dr. Huberman and those types of people. Let me get to my home base and my subscriptions. And so, like if you go to Dr. Huberman and Huberman Labs, his recent ones that he just put out 11 hours ago, what pets actually want and need with Dr. Carolina Westland, is 2 hours and 5 minutes. And he's got a few of them that he calls his essentials or his breakdown or whatever like that. But here's one with here's one with Dr. Hyman. How to improve your vitality and health from disease. 2 hours and 42 minutes. These guys are talking about health. Dr. Huberman, Dr. Hyman. Dr. Hyman, you guys know I admire him a lot, and we talk about him a lot on the show, right? So when I started listening to these guys, here's one, How to Find and Be a Better Partner with Lori Gottlieb. 3 hours and 22 minutes and 59 seconds is how long that one is. So these long form videos give what they do, and then that's just Dr. Huberman. But if we were to go listen to, Ryan Shaw is one of the guys that, no, Sean Ryan, not Ryan Shaw, Sean Ryan is one of the guys that I like to listen to sometime. His last episode was an hour and 46 minutes. Here's another one, 3 hours and 10 minutes long, right? So Dr. Peterson, you go listen to Dr. Peterson. The most recent one 1 hour ago was an hour and 35 minutes. And now here's one that he had with Peter Thiel, and it's an hour and 20 minutes. Here's an hour and 27 minutes with Joe Salatin. Great one. So cows are good for the environment with Joe Salatin. That'd be a great one if you wanted to go watch it on Dr. Peterson, Jordan Peterson's page, right? So I started listening to those guys to try to get long form. I'll just go to work on a Saturday or something, or I'll just go home for the rest of the night, put my headphone in, and listen to some of these long form videos, right? So when I got my own show, it's not common to do long form stuff on the radio. And part of the reason why is because of advertisement. You've got to advertise on the radio in order to keep the lights on. I mean, that's just factual, right? And hopefully we create enough content that the advertisers feel like they're getting their money's worth from the radio show. But a typical radio show will have a 8 or 9, 10-minute segment, and then it'll have a commercial, and then it'll have another segment, then it'll have a commercial, and there'll be 4 of those segments. Maybe they're 12 minutes, maybe there's 48 minutes total. So when I visited with Ken at the beginning of this, and I got my own show over a year and 7 months ago, I was like, look, I want some time. Now, the challenging part is to be entertaining enough to want someone to listen to that and make something educational enough or intriguing enough that makes you want to listen to it, right? So that's how we actually came about with our show format. When I was doing the show for 2 years, the Wellness Wednesday show that I did on Ken Adams, the Thin Line with Ken Adams for 2 years, we would get to talking about something, and then all of a sudden here comes another break, and then we'd have to go to commercial, and then we'd come back. And I just felt like it wasn't fair to you guys that really want to try to learn something about health. And I laughed because I had an incident that happened today, and it just reminded me that sometimes I'm a little bit too serious about things. But it's my background and my nature to try to look, I'm serious. Let's break this thing down, right? So today I had an aha moment of posture. The question was posture. And the person made the statement, she listens to the show, and she said, you talk about head forward posture. What can I do to solve my forward head posture problem? Or do I even have a forward head posture problem? And if I did have one, what would I do about it? Right? And she said, I don't want to have bad posture. Now, we got this question last week from one of our listeners on the chat line that said, what about an older person who's really hunched over? What can you do for that person? And they've lost their posture. And so, and then I had another guy who brought his daughter in. She's 11. I've been taking care of this family for 9 years. And today he said, we really want to get her started on weekly chiropractic care because we're starting to notice that her posture is bad and she's got this little hump on her back, and we want to try to improve that. And I was like, well, okay, that's great. I've been waiting 9 years for this little girl to get under care, right? And finally we got her today. She started her journey to working on her posture. But So I had this conversation about posture, and I said, the first thing you do is start with your brain. And when I said that, she kind of, and she may be listening right now, but she kind of said it in a, she was joking, but it was funny, and it was not she was being funny. She's like, the brain. It's of course it starts with the brain, right? I was like, yes, yes, it starts with the brain. And so I walked her through it, and I saw it in her eyes that she got it. And I was like, amen. Like, I don't know how long I've been taking care of this particular lady, and I don't know how many of these shows she's listened to, but today, April 28th, she got it. Amen. She can live the rest of her life understanding it. And I just wanted to, and I actually laid in the floor. I took my glasses off. I laid down on the floor on my back. And I wanted to show it. And so I thought I would just really go slow tonight. I would really slow it down. And I would walk you through it so that you could understand where posture comes from. Okay? So that's what I want to do. Okay. Let's look up the word, I'm trying to be, I don't want to be insulting, but I want to be very very intentional. If we look up the word inhibit, because in neurology, knocked over a beautiful bottle of fish oil. Are you kidding me? Inhibit. If you look up the word inhibit, and if you can really understand this word, because one of the smartest things I ever learned, I learned it from Mark Maturo from River something, New Jersey. Mark Maturo sitting right next to me. He just, in chiropractic school, one day just looked over at me and he said, Clemens, healthy people inhibit. And then he just turned his head back to the front of the class. And I just looked at Mark and I was like, what the heck did that mean? Healthy people inhibit. What's he talking about? Like, what does that mean? Okay. That may be the top thing. That may be the number one thing, but I can tell you it's in probably the top 3 to 5 most impactful sentences I've ever learned, or phrases I've ever learned in my entire life as a doctor. Like all these things that I've studied, everything that I've ever learned about everything here that we've ever talked about, healthy people inhibit. So flip it around. Like let's literally break this down. This may take the whole show. I don't know if we're taking health to church tonight or not, but we're taking now. Jesus knows we're here and he knows what we're talking about. Okay. Healthy people inhibit. Okay. So you know how we like to break these sentences down and take the reverse of them, right? What if healthy people inhibit, what do unhealthy people do? What if healthy people inhibit? Okay, now that we've got that, we're going to leave it blank for just a second, and then we're going to go back and we're going to look up the definition of inhibit. It means to hold back, restrain. It's a synonym of restrain. Okay, barricades that inhibited the movement of the crowd. Yeah, orange cones in a lane on a street inhibit people from driving on the cones, right? To cause a person to behave in a restrained or self-conscious way. To suppress or restrain behavior, an impulse, a desire, consciously or unconsciously. Okay? To suppress behavior. You ever seen a 6-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old who hasn't developed the ability to inhibit yet? Like they're all over the restaurant. We were at lunch yesterday, and there was looked like he was maybe 3 or 4 years old, cute little kid running up and down the hall, just running all around the tables, ran up to the front, ran to the cash register, ran back around, just was running all around the tables. Mom and Dad were all sitting over there at the table, and that little kid was not inhibiting himself. Neither were his parents, right? Okay. To suppress or restrain a behavior, an impulse. How about a Parkinson's person? How about that pill rolling thing that they got going on? Is that person caught? Is that person right now? I am making my hand shake, right? I'm actually physically making my hand shake. I am intentionally making my hand shake. Does a Parkinson's person intentionally make their hand shake? No. They cannot inhibit their hand from shaking. They cannot suppress their hand from shaking. Their hand shakes because their brain has lost the ability to inhibit. We get exposed to viruses. This is my speech on the immune system, right? Like we talk about lots of time. We get exposed to viruses, and we what I say, 25 kids in our fourth grade class, and flu season came through. 15 kids got the flu. 10 kids didn't get the flu. Why? Why? We talked about vaccines last week. We talked about the groups on the side, and we talked about saying that you weren't going to get sick, or vitamin D. We were talking about vitamin D, right? And it said you weren't going to get sick. And I'm like, that's not true. It doesn't mean you weren't going to get sick. You weren't going to get exposed. You weren't going to have to deal with the virus. You just inhibited the effect of the virus. The 15 kids that got the flu didn't have the ability to inhibit. The 10 kids that didn't get the flu still got exposed to the flu virus. That's why the germ theory is crap. The germ theory, everybody thinks that, oh my gosh, I got to wash my hands and put crap all over my hands. And it's a hand sanitizer all day long, every day, over and over again. And we got to wash everything down, and we got to have all this stuff. And it's like, that's not how it works. It works from the inside out. It's not outside in. It's an inside inability to inhibit the virus. We're exposed to viruses all the time. You have strep and staph on your skin. It's part of your natural flora. It's part of your skin. You've got staph infection and strep infection on your body right now. But your immune system inhibits it from getting inside your body. Your immune system does that. So if healthy people inhibit, what do unhealthy people do? It's pretty simple. They don't inhibit. Unhealthy people don't keep cancer from growing. Every single day in our body, cancer cells grow. Every single day, you have cancer cells in your body. And every single day, your immune system looks at those cancer cells and says, hey, we need to eliminate these cancer cells from the body. We need to inhibit cancer growth. Except for on the days when your immune system is not working. And so what happens? You're not able to inhibit the cancer growth. And so what happens? You grow cancer. Does that make any sense? Healthy people inhibit. Unhealthy people don't inhibit. Okay? So now, let's talk about posture. All right? Because what does the brain have to do with posture? All right. You have an upper brain and a lower brain, and basically both of those, it's not really not exactly true, but there's 4 lobes in the brain. But you have an upper brain and a lower brain, and the upper brain has frontal lobes and parietal lobes. Okay. Listen to this sentence. And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, or I'm not trying to talk down to you. I want you to understand this, okay? the frontal lobe inhibits flexor muscles. The frontal lobe inhibits flexor muscles. How do you move your arm? If you want to bend your elbow, what are you doing? To bend your elbow, right? You've got to contract what? What is it if you got your arms out straight? Is your arm in flexion or is your arm in extension? If your arm is right out straight in front of you, your elbow in flexion or extension? Your elbow's in extension. Now, if I said flex your elbow, what would you do? You would pull your hand towards your body. You would bend your elbow, right? That's called flexing your elbow. If your wrist was in a neutral position and I said flex your wrist, what would you do? You would flex it. You would bring it like you were trying to show off your muscles, right? Right? I'm going to bring my wrist down. If I said extend your wrist, you put your hand out and you bring it back like you were riding a motorcycle or something, right? You extend your wrist, extend your fingers, flex your fingers. Okay? You've got muscles that are doing both of those actions. You've got flexors, like your bicep and your upper arm muscles, okay? And you have extensors of your elbow, which is your tricep. So you've got a flexor and you have an extensor, and you have those all over your bodies, all of your body. You have a flexor of your finger and you have an extensor of your finger. You have a flexor of your wrist that ties into the inside of your elbow. You guys heard of tennis elbow and golfer's elbow, right? You've got flexors on the inside that tie into your elbow, and you've got extensors that are on the outside that tie into the outside of your elbow. You got the same thing with your torso. You've got flexors, like you're going to do a sit-up or a crunch. If you're going to do a crunch, you're in flexion, right? If you're going to do a sway back, if you're going to be sway back or lean back, you're in extension of your torso. And that all of those muscles above the waist, all the muscles above the waist are on the front of the body. See if I can pull them up. Might be able to pull this up right quick. Give me just a second. Okay, here we go. Here's a picture of them right here. All right, these are flexor muscles. This is your SCM muscle. If I'm going to flex my head to the side, if I'm going to flex my head downward, take my ear to my sternum, right? If I'm going to bring my chin to my chest, that's flexion. If I'm going to take my chin as high up as I can, that's extension. So where are my flexor muscles? Above my waist. From my waist up, my flexor muscles are on the front of my body. It's my pec muscles, your chest, your pec muscles, your biceps, your forearm muscles, your SCM muscle, your psoas muscle that connects to all 5 lumbar vertebrae, comes down to the inside of your pelvis and attaches to your femur. Those psoas muscles, or iliopsoas, you might have heard them before. And then if I ask you to extend your knee, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your leg? You're going to straighten out your leg. If I said flex your knee, what would you do? You would bend your knee, right? Okay, now we're talking about below the waist. The flexor muscles are on the back of the body, the hamstring and the calf. Those are flexor muscles. So, and then the bottom of your foot, there's a dorsiflexion. We call it, or plantar flexion, right? So those are your flexors. Then you've got above the waist, they're on the front. So if I'm going to flex my body, And I want you to remember, we're born. Why do they say it's called a fetal position? Well, they found him in the floor in a fetal position. What does that mean? Like, I don't have a picture of that, but what is a fetus position? Let's find that. It'll be worth it. And you got to understand that this is the first time. I won't put it on the air first, but let me see if I can, because everybody knows what I'm talking about. Let's see. And this is just very well health right here. I don't know if you could kind of see this, but fetal position, right? What is that? We're in flexion. We're tucked. Our chin is tucked down. Our shoulders are tucked in. Our arms are tucked. Our body is tucked. We're in that position. That's called the fetal position, right? So, what is that? What time of life are we in the fetal position? Dang it. Sorry, I let the time get away from me right there. You guys stick around with us. We got to take this break, but we'll be back in just a second, and we'll continue with this because I really do think it's super important. And if you get it, it'll be a light bulb moment and it'll change your whole life. So stick around. We'll be right back. I want to give the radio people a chance to come back before we talk about that. We're in flexion, right? That's what the fetal position is. It's flexion. Here's a picture of it right here while we're on the break. The frontal lobes, right? Frontal lobes inhibit flexor muscles. That's the frontal lobes. So I gotta turn them off. I'll wait. You guys bear with us just so we can get through, because if someone's at home listening to this, I just want them to hear I want them to hear this right quick, and then maybe we'll get to. It was really funny because you would think the day after Easter, the Sunday after Easter, that we'd be full blast, ready to go. It's like we got all these people fired up about Jesus from Easter, and then it'd be ready to just knock them out with one of the best sermons ever. Like everybody comes back to church. And apparently that's not what happens. Because that's not what they did. They just reran a sermon from a while back about Paul. Saul's conversion to Paul, which is great in the health and wellness world, because in the health and wellness world, it's like when you transfer from sick to healthy, it's like it's about the same conversion of when you used to be called Saul and now you're called Paul, and now you change the world instead of persecuting people. It's kind of what happens with us in health and wellness. So it's a good little sermon to talk about wellness, but we'll see if we get to it here in a second. We've done it before on taking health to church, and so we broke it all down last year sometime, that same sermon. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We're talking about posture right now. We might get to take the health to church here in just a minute, but we're really talking about posture, and I really want you to think about it, okay? So, if someone has bad posture, how would you describe that person? Like, how many times have you heard a parent say to a child, Sit up straight. Hey, sit up straight. Quit slouching, right? Okay. So um, if I said to you, this person that I know has bad posture, what would go through your brain? Like what do you immediately think of when you think of bad posture? What is the what does the person look like? If you had a picture of the person, what do they look like? Where would their head be in relationship to their shoulders? Would their head be like, would they be like upright and their head would be right over their shoulders? Or would you say to me that maybe their head was forward and down, right? Maybe their head, if they had bad posture, they would be slouching, right? You might say that. You might say they're really like their shoulders are rolled like they don't stand up straight, right? Their shoulders are rolled forward. Their hips, they don't even they can't get their stuff straight. They're bent at the waist. Like an old lady that's got bad posture. Or I see it all the time with kids, like these kids that have bad posture. They just sit there. Your kid may be doing it right now. Your grandkid might be doing it right now. Like you might actually be doing it yourself. I might be doing it right now with the way that this setup is right here, trying to talk into this microphone, right? It could be slouching, right? That's what you would think. You would think that this person is slouching. How do I get to slouching? If I'm gonna be upright and I'm gonna have good posture and I'm gonna have my head up and my shoulders back and my abs tight and my hips up underneath me, and I'm gonna have good posture, and I want to get out of good posture. If you're in good posture right now and you want to get out of good posture, how are you going to get your head down and your body to slouch? How would you do that? You would turn off your extensor muscles, wouldn't you? All those muscles on the back of your body, above your waist, your back muscles, your rhomboids, your infraspinatus muscle, your supraspinatus muscle, all those muscles in the back, your traps, this whole lat thing that we got going on in the back, all the paraspinal muscles of the back, all the extensors, you would turn them off. And if you turn them off, which muscles would turn on? Your flexors muscles would. How am I going to get my shoulder to roll inside? If I'm going to have rolled shoulders, how do I get my shoulders to roll? I got to fire my pec muscles to pull my shoulders in, right? You can just feel it. You can put your hand right on your chest and roll your shoulder in, and you can feel your pec start to flex. Your flexor muscles are getting tighter. Your flexor muscles are flexing. My bicep flexes. Now my elbow doesn't straighten out. My wrist flexes. Now my hand turns in, and I'm sitting there, and I got this internally rolled shoulder, and I've got this bent elbow, and my hand is turned inward, and I'm sitting there, and what happens to my psoas muscle? What happens to the angle of my body? And I'll show you on a picture. What happens to the angle of my body? Look at this older man right here. What is happening from his thigh bone, from his femur to his torso right there? He's in flexion, right? He's bent forward. That's all going on. That's all. The flexor muscles of the body are getting tighter, which means what? From our initial conversation, what does it mean if our flexors are getting tighter? They're resting tone. You're not making them flex. You're not thinking about flexing, right? You're not doing that. You're just resting, and the resting tone of your flexors are tighter. It's like, man, I just can't hardly get my arms straight because it's just I can't get my shoulders back because I just feel it's hard to look up, right? Because the muscles on the front above the waist are starting to get tighter. Why are they doing that? What would it mean if I inhibited that muscle? If I had a muscle that was in contraction and I inhibited that muscle from contracting, if I suppressed the contraction of the muscle, what would it do? It would extend. If I suppressed the flexion, I'm going to get extension. What suppresses flexor muscles? The frontal lobe. The brain, right here, the brain turns off the flexor. I usually shake hands with people. I'm like, look, you shake hands with me, I'll shake hands with you. That's a normal handshake. You've got contraction, I've got contraction. That's an acceptable amount of contraction for a handshake. And then what I'll say is, if my brain starts to drop, if my power in my brain starts to drop, my flexor muscles are going to squeeze harder. If my brain starts to drop, my flexors get tighter. And they're like, ow, don't squeeze my hand like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's happening. The frontal lobe is not inhibiting flexion. So what's happening? The flexors are flexing. And what's happening to your posture? Your posture's bad. So if someone says to me, Doc, how do I fix my posture? What's the first thing I should answer to them? What's the answer to the question? Drive your frontal lobe. Charge up your frontal lobe. I just got a message on my office phone right here. I just got a message that said low battery. I got 9% on my office phone. I got 70% on my personal phone. Why? They both were plugged in exactly the same last night. They both had the same exact charge. Why? Because Leslie's been working with this phone all day long, our office phone, and it's been up at the front and she's been using it, and my phone's been sitting on my desk all day long. I looked at it at lunch, and that's pretty much, I looked at it this morning a time or two. I looked at it at lunch, but I've been adjusting patients who bring their phone for some reason into my office. I have no idea why they do that. They cannot leave their phone in the car. They'll come in here and sit in the lobby and look at their phone and turn off their frontal lobe. And then they'll say to me, Doc, my shoulder hurts. Well, how long have you been looking at that phone today, right? So we've got a charge problem. What am I going to do to this phone when it gets past 9%? Should I just throw it away? What if this was my right hemisphere? And what if this phone over here was my left hemisphere? And what if I had 9% charge on my right hemisphere and 70% charge on my left hemisphere? Which side of my body, because frontal lobe is same side, okay? Which side of my body would be tighter? Which muscles in my body? If my right hemisphere was at 9%, and the right frontal lobe inhibited the flexor muscles on the right side, what would be happening to these flexor muscles on this right side? They would be tighter, right? Did you get that? I don't want to go. I don't want to go past it because you have to think of it in a negative. It's almost like a double negative. Instead of saying that the frontal lobe is doing this to the flexor, it's saying, nope, the frontal lobe is not letting the flexor do this. The frontal lobe is inhibiting the flexor muscle. This frontal lobe is sending a signal down to this pec on your chest, down to this SCM, down to this bicep, down to this psoas that's connected down here. This frontal lobe is sending that message, and it's innervating all these muscles, and it's turning them down. It's inhibiting them from, it's suppressing contraction. The frontal lobe is suppressing contraction. When a patient comes in every single day, and I have them ask me this all the time. I had one ask me this today. She said, "What are you looking at?" And I remember 20 years ago watching my brother-in-law do this, thinking he was so full of crap. I was like, "Dude, what are you looking at? They're just standing right there. Like, that's just what they looked like yesterday. Like, what could you possibly be looking at? This right here. What if my head is tilted to the left? What if I'm standing in front of you and you're checking my posture and my head is tilted to the left? Could it possibly be that my left hemisphere, my left frontal lobe, is not firing, which is causing my left SCM muscle to contract a little bit and pull my ear down to my sternum? I could have some lateral flexion. And then what might I also have? I might have a rolled in left shoulder. So when I looked at the back of your hands, I saw a guy yesterday. I was watching 60 Minutes last night. You can go back and watch it. It's kind of a ridiculous show these days. But my daddy used to watch it, and it's nostalgic for me. And so I watch it on Sunday nights. There was an FBI agent, and he was walking down. You know how they get in 60 Minutes? They get him to walk down the street. He was walking down the sidewalk, and you could see both of the back of his palms when he was walking down the sidewalk. He wasn't walking with the V of his thumb. If someone is standing in front of you, just have somebody stand in front of you and just have them just stand there and just tell them to close their eyes and just stand there. And just look and see what you see with their back. Do you see the whole back of their hand? Like, do you see the whole back of their hand? Or do you see the V of their thumb? This guy was walking with. You should go back and watch. You should go back and watch it. Go back to 60 Minutes on CBS or whatever, and watch that show from last night. And watch that guy walk. It's kind of it's the FBI about the hijackers from Saudi Arabia and the whole thing of the video of the Capitol building and all that stuff with the lawsuit that's going on. And they interviewed one of the FBI agents. He's walking down the street. And what did I see? I saw the back of his hands. What does that tell me? How do you get to the back of your hand? If you're standing in front of me and I can see the back of your hand, what does that tell me about the shoulder? What's going on with your shoulder? It tells me that your shoulder is internally rotated. Most likely. Now, you could have some sort of different, like an ab. It's not absolute, because you could have some other things going on, right? But if I see your left hand and I can see the V of your thumb, and I see your right hand and I see the back of your hand, what that tells me, just think about it. I mean, you may not hear me on the radio, but if I stand up and I roll my shoulders in, if both my shoulders come in, you're going to see the back of my hand. If I extend my arms back and get my posture right, what are you going to see? You're going to see the V of my thumb that way, right? That's what we do. So we check posture, and your head's tilted, and your shoulders internally rotated, and the back of your hand is like that. And then I'm going to look at your leg, and your foot is going to be flared out. What is that telling me? That's telling me that frontal lobe is not inhibiting those flexor muscles. It's like, Doc, I don't understand. It always happens on my left side. It's like my left shoulder is jacked up, my left hip is jacked up, my left foot's jacked up. I got plantar fasciitis on my left side. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's like I'm sitting here like this, and it's like, why is that? Because posture starts in the brain. Flexion is the lack of inhibition from the frontal lobe down there to those flexor muscles that's causing that bad posture. So when the mom and the dad says to the little kid, "Sit up straight, son," what they really should say is, "Get on your feet and walk. Get up. Just stand up and walk down the hall and come back." Do that 10 times. Walk down the hall and come back. Why? Because what does getting on your feet do? When you get on your feet, the receptors in your feet, they fire your brain. And I'm going to take this phone home tonight, and I'm gonna plug it in when I get home. And in the morning, it's going to have 100% charge. And how did it get to have 100% charge? I plugged it in and it charged it up. How do you charge up your brain? You get on your feet and you get your eyes up on the horizon. Watch. It started at 3 months old. And this would be a great thing. If you're able, it would be really cool if you got on the floor and laid on your back. If you have the capacity to do that, it would be really cool to get on the floor and lay on your back. Because what you would do, I think we went over this one last week. This slide, this is the slide of development, of posture. This is the slide of posture. And when did it begin? At 3 months old, you were laying on your stomach. You were laying on your back, and you got tired of laying on your back. Every little baby does this. Every little baby lays on their back. Have you ever seen a 5-year-old kid that's never rolled over in their life? That doesn't have some sort of major disruption? I'm not trying to be insensitive to any of the 5-year-old kids. I'm saying if normal development of a 3-month-old gets tired of being on their back. So what do? They roll over on their tummy. And what do they do with their face when they roll over on their tummy? They pick their face up. At first, they might lay there with their face in the blanket for maybe a little bit, right? But they don't stay like that. You don't see a baby just roll over and have their face just flat forever. It doesn't stay there for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 10 months, 3 years, and just have their face flat on the ground. No, they lay up. They get tired of that, and they pick their head up. They pick their head up. And what are they doing when they pick their head up? What are they doing to their flexors and their extensors? What is happening when you lay on your tummy and you pick your head up? You are firing your extensor muscles. And what happens when you fire your extensors? You inhibit your flexors. It turns off your flexors when you turn on your extensors. We call that reciprocal inhibition. It's like, try it. Stick your arm out in front of you. Stick your arm out in front of you, and then and straighten it out as much as you can straighten it out, and push down and reach back and feel the tricep on the back of your arm. It's in flexion. And now reach, and your bicep is soft. Your tricep is hard and your bicep is soft. Okay? Now, I want you to keep your tricep in contraction, and I want you to bend your elbow. But I want you to keep firing your tricep and bend your elbow. You can't do it. It's impossible. Unless you break your arm, your tricep is not going to let you bend your elbow because your tricep is in contraction. So, which means your bicep is not in contraction. It's reciprocal inhibition. It's being inhibited by your tricep. Now, watch what happens if you try to bend your elbow. You have to flex your bicep and you have to turn off your tricep. Just flex your bicep and reach back and feel how your tricep gets softer. It's called reciprocal inhibition. When you fire your extensors, you turn off your flexors. How do you fire your extensors if you've never fired extensors before? How does a baby fire its extensors? It has to develop a new pathway inside your brain. And where did the eyes go? What happened to the eyes when the baby rolled over on their tummy? Their eyes went up because the baby's laying on the ground. Their eyes went up above the horizon. Your eyeballs went up above the horizon. Look at the eyeballs. Look at the eyeballs in the picture. I can't blow that up, but the eyeballs are up. Where's the baby's head? The baby's head is an extension. It's moving around with the eyeballs up. What is happening neurologically? Neurologically, we're charging up the frontal lobe. Neurologically, we're firing the pathways that inhibit the flexor muscles. That's what we do. Then the baby starts to crawl in the cross-crawl pattern. And neurologically, that cross-crawl pattern is firing the neurology of the brain. That cross-crawl pattern is vital for the way that the brain works. That baby's crawling now. They're crawling all over the place, and their head is up, and their eyes are up. They're not crawling to an iPad and sitting back down and putting their face down. If you're a grandparent and you're giving your child an iPad, you're killing their brain. You're killing their brain and their posture. You're killing their upper brain. You're killing their frontal lobe. You're causing their 12-year-old acid reflux problem. You're increasing their anxiety and their depression. You're going to wonder why they have anxiety. Well, my 11-year-old has anxiety and acid reflux and bad posture. Yes, because why? Because the right brain is overactive, and we're not firing the upper brain, and we're not inhibiting the lower brain, and the emotional centers are still firing, and we've got all this stuff. Josh Matson, he's one of the chiropractors. He's like become world famous for doing reflexes on kids. He's like, look, these kids they're retaining these reflexes. And he's got this massive practice in Iowa someplace. Good job, Josh. He's freaking great. I love him. It's like, look, the eyes come up. And then the baby gets on their feet. And in order to stand up, you have to go into extension at the hips. Got to get up. You got to get up. And then the baby's going to walk. And then the baby's going to turn into a man. And the man is going to walk upright and tall with posture, because they fired the neurology that kept their body in extension. It took your shoulders into extension. It brought your head back into extension. It brought your psoas relaxed, which gave your hips, it allowed you to have a straight leg. You ever watched an old man walk that has bad brain? He can't straighten his legs out. His knees are bent all the time. Right? We just go through the process of life until we get to be old, and then we look like this. We're old. And you say, well, he's got bad knees, or he's got bad hips, or he's got bad shoulders. Nope. What started first? What starts before orthopedics? Brain. What the question about last week, the old person that's hunched over, what went first? The brain. The brain went first, then the hunch started. The brain went first, then the internal rotation of the shoulders started. The brain went first, then the psoas got tight on one side. If one side brain is weak, if just one side of your brain is weak, then that psoas is going to bend your spine in that direction. You're going to get torqued. Your lumbar spine is going to bend because that psoas is weak. What about, have you heard this term? Idiopathic scoliosis for your 12-year-old daughter that all of a sudden started getting this curved spine. What in the heck, why did it go curved? If there's not a bone deficiency problem somewhere, then it's a neurology problem somewhere. Brain started first, then scoliosis. Brain started first, then my spine went one way, then my spine went the other way. Brain started first and with this internal rotation, this sit forward, this head forward thing. This thing of posture is like, how do I get my posture better? Walk. Get your eyes up. What are things you can do? What are things we only got a minute, we got 2 minutes left. I knew this is going to take the whole time. But I really think it's so important if you can just see it. Like, what are some of the things like that we can do to work on our posture? Okay, what can I do to work on my brain? What is the number one thing I can do to work on my brain? The number one thing I could do to work on my brain is to be social. Have social interactions with people. Be social. There's nothing better for your brain or your health than being social. It trumps nutrition and it trumps exercise. Exercise yourself to death and don't have any relationships and watch yourself die young. You got to be social, okay? That's number one. Get on your feet and walk. Feet drives brain. Brain turns off flexors. Flexors go into extension. Gets us to go into extension. Number three, get your eyes up and move them back and forth. You can, after that, you can get into stretching the ligaments and the fascia that has been brought down for such a long period of time. But getting our eyes up above the horizon, because what we're going to do is we're going to grab this phone and my eyes are going to go down and my head is going to go down. And when my eyes go down and my head goes down, I am now firing my flexors and I'm not firing my extensors. So now I'm creating the neurology of a 3-month-old laying on my back. I'm going back into the fetal position with my eyes down and in. Man, I hope that was good. I hope you got something out of that, and I hope you finally understand that posture is brain. If you have a child with bad posture, you have a child with an underdeveloped brain. You guys have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow night at 6. If you got any questions, let me know. I know that was quick and fast, and I said I was going to go slow, but I don't know if I did. I don't know if I went slow enough. So you guys have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6. Let me know if I can help.